Welcome to Beyond the Books with Dani Marie. I'm Dani.
I'm Marie.
And today we are discussing A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, which is the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So we're super excited for this, and as you can tell, I've been bookmarking things as I go back through it. And we're not going to cover this entire book today.
Too much.
There's way too much that happens. And we really went through the first one really quickly, just to kind of get established, because there's so much more meat in the next two books.
Right. Well, the whole first book is just her being, like, not appreciated properly. Like,
right. And then you know,
like,
she dies.
The battle, and then the death, and then she's back, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much more you need.
Right.
This one, though.
There's a lot.
Layers.
Okay. So, really the only way to start this particular book is to start with the relationship that develops between Feyre and Rhysand.
I literally...
And we love him.
Love him.
Oh my god. Okay, if I could marry a fictional character, let me just tell you.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. Husband, he's gone.
Bah.
Rhysand.
Literally, it's because he's, like, the perfect balance of everything. Everything's good and, like... kind of iffy and like sarcastic and sweet and
does not exist in reality.
Right. And that's why he's perfect, because he's not real.
Because he's not real. So here's what I love about Feyre and Rhysand's relationship. First of all, you know, when the story opens, Feyre's drowning. Everything that happened under the mountain, I mean, her dying and
literally
becoming high fae.
The most emotionally distraught you could probably get.
Ever be. She's vomiting out her guts every night. She's, you know,
literally like withering away from trauma.
Yes.
Literally.
She's not holding in food. She's not getting nourishment. She is a shell of a person at this point.
And Tamlin's not any.
And Tamlin does nothing.
He's like, no, she'll be alright.
Yeah. I mean, and probably dealing with his own trauma.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
right.
Like, listen, let's be honest. If you were hurting, I mean... If there was something that happened and we were both hurting,
right, I would still be checking in.
I would still check in and be like, "Are you okay?
Hey, I'm going through the shits. How are you?" Like we at least would communicate that,
right?
And he supposedly loves her,
and he just does not care,
right? No. Mm-mm.
The other thing is that everything in Feyre's life now is being decided for her. She has no choice. So Tamlin is being more controlling and toxic than ever.
Oh my god. If you could look in the dictionary under the word controlling, it'd be a picture of his face.
Literally.
Like, it'd be him.
Literally.
Yeah.
And we meet a new character. How did you pronounce her name? The priestess? Ianth?
Ianth. I don't know why. Because it looked like Ian.
It does look like Ian.
At the end.
So
yeah.
I think I pronounced it Ianth. You pronounced it Ianth.
Right. That's the fun of books. You never know until someone announces it. Sarah J. Maas.
Sarah J. Maas. Tell us how you pronounce it.
Let us know. Yeah.
So we meet her, and Feyre kind of leans on her a whole lot in the beginning part of this. And she thinks of her as a friend when really she's kind of like
conniving.
We find out later she's very conniving, very manipulative. She has a bigger agenda and game planned out. But more than that, I mean, she's kind of vying for power in the Spring Court.
Right.
Not necessarily Tamlin's power, but just power nonetheless.
Well, she's the only one. I think the reason Feyre trusted her is because she's the only one who tries to distract her from her own struggle. You know what I mean? Like she at least tries to get Feyre out the house. And Lucien's got his head in the sand. Tamlin has not only got his head in the sand, but he's like, "You're going to be stuck in the sand with me. You're not allowed to do anything."
Yeah. And so, I think the part of the story that truly intrigues me is the bond that Rhysand and Feyre have, that she's truly unaware of how deep the connection goes, right?
Right.
So it's her wedding day, her and Tamlin are about to get married, and she's thinking of all of these things that have gone wrong, that are bothering her, and as she's walking towards him, she's literally thinking in her head, I can't do this.
Someone save me.
Someone save me. No, no, no.
Right.
And bam, Rhysand appears.
Big sexy shows up. He says, "Hello, Feyre darling.
Hello!
Take me. Like,
take me now."
But she was pissed. Oh my god, because she hated him.
Right, and she's thinking, oh my god, not now. And he's given her 3 months to adjust
and, like, you know,
get her affairs in order.
Right, the whole time while he's listening to her practically dying every night.
And yeah, and so within, you know, like a chapter, we find out he tells her that he literally sees all of the stuff that's happening
because of the deal they struck.
Because she sends it down the bond every time she's very emotionally distraught or hurt or angry. And so he's getting glimpses of all this stuff. So every night when she's vomiting out her guts, he's waking up and watching it happen.
Literally, like, through her eyes. Seeing everything.
And so...
And seeing Tamlin not helping is what he's seeing.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And so, again, what I love is that Rhysand by no means is, like, overwhelmingly, oh my god, are you okay? Is everything... What can I do?
He don't even say, are you okay?
No.
He's like, good morning.
He literally calls her out and tells her, like, you're not okay. You're not eating, you're vomiting your guts out, and nobody's doing anything about it.
He pretty much said, you look like shit.
One of the biggest things that a lot of TikTokers want to see, if any of you follow Tyler James on TikTok. Is
that the dark-haired guy?
Yes. So many TikTokers want him to play Rhysand in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which I'm pretty sure auditions are already over, but I mean... Hello, Hulu. If you haven't cast Rhysand yet, you should totally check out Tyler James, because... He in my mind, he is Rhysand.
I don't, for some reason, in my mind, I see someone, like, bigger than that. So, okay, Twilight. Emmett.
Emmett,
His name's Emmett. That guy is what I see.
No.
Ooh.
He's too burly to play Rhysand.
No, but that's the point. He's supposed to look scary, but then, like, be sweet. He could do it.
I don't know.
That's what
Anyways,
I see.
The point is...
If Rhysand ends up being skinny, I can't watch it. Because that'll ruin everything for me. That ain't sexy. Nobody wants that. I can't do it.
The point is that there's so many people that have... Well, I mean, he's done a couple of TikToks where he...
Literally themed with him being Rhysand.
With him being Rhysand. There's so many people out there that want him to do the clip of whenever he brings her to the night court on her wedding night and she throws her shoes at him at the back of his head.
Yes.
And it's just this, like, monumental point in the book.
Right.
Because she's so angry with him and she hates him so much because she feels this loyalty to Tamlin.
Right.
And
what did we say earlier? Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes.
Yo.
And again, we kind of talked about this in the last episode where I really feel like she falls in love with Tamlin because it's better than anything that she's ever had.
Right.
She was so desperate for any kind of affection from anyone, and he flowered her with all of these things and not even necessarily like things like jewelry and whatever, but like
just a
space and
time
attention,
and paints
a
field to lay in and look at the stars or whatever.
Yeah, like it just again, and we talked about how
just because it's the best you've ever had doesn't mean it's the best for you.
Yes, point blank period.
Yeah, but Rhys.
So, and the great thing about Rhysand is that he always gives her a choice.
Always.
So other than her being there for her bargain.
Right. That's like the only thing. He was like, I'm gonna call this in.
Yeah. And he tells her, like, no, this is something you agreed to. We have to do this.
Actually, he did give her a choice when they made the deal.
Yes.
She still had a choice.
Yes, she did.
Look at that. Oh, I still love him so much.
And that's kind of like a consistent theme throughout with his character is that everything... really, and for
she even says that. She says everything I've ever done with Rhys, for Rhys, around I've always had
a choice,
right?
And so he saves her by calling in his bargain on the wedding day. He brings her back a week later. Of course, Tamlin immediately when she gets back grills her for information about the night.
Sits her down and is like, notebook and pen. What'd you see?
Yeah. And
like, did not even a, hey, I missed you, hey, how are you? He, looked her over to see if they had tortured her.
Well, I mean, they kind of make out for a minute and then...
But once again, not about emotion, about sex. because Tamlin's a piece of shit.
And dog. and she kind of initiates it, and she's like, "Let's go upstairs." And he goes, "I have to ask you some questions first."
Right. I don't even want.
You're like, screw you. So yeah, I can't with him. I can't. So she goes back the next month, and Rhysand is giving her insight into what's about to happen, and he tells her about war coming with Hybern. And she goes back and she relays this information to Tamlin, and she's saying, let me help, let me do something, what do you think?
Asking questions.
And he refuses to talk to her, won't let her be a part of any of the meetings.
Right.
Again, he's still being super controlling.
Yeah.
And again, like, all this is doing is driving her further and further away. And while a lot of people might think that it drove her to Rhysand, really, Rhysand was just there to pick up Tamlin's slack.
Right, pretty much.
Like,
I don't think, situationally, obviously, there was some type of chemistry between Feyre and Rhys before, or she wouldn't have, I mean, do you know how many people she pretty much was, like, F off and, like, didn't, if she didn't want anything to do with them in the beginning, then that's where it would have been.
Right.
Like, so there was something there to begin with. And even when she said the most beautiful
male ever. But the real thing is that he trusts her, and even with her still going back to Tamlin, he's still giving her information about his court, about himself. He doesn't reveal all.
Right, because he ain't stupid.
When he first takes her to the Night Court, he literally keeps her above the mountain, above the hewn city.
Yeah.
He does not take her...
in his, like, apartment.
Yeah, he does not take her to Valaris, which is the city that no one knows about. He doesn't give her all the, like, the weapons in his arsenal.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But he does trust her enough to let her know that something is coming and you need to be prepared for it, and you can either bury your head in the sand or you can stand up and learn how to fight. He also is the one that lets her know that he believes that she has powers now that she has been made High Fae from all 7 High Lords.
Yeah.
And she goes and she talks to Tamlin about that, and Tamlin's like, no, even if you do, it'll look bad if we start training you, that we're using you as a weapon.
Yeah.
All of this
all
kind
the
of
High
stuff.
Lords will want their power back.
And you'll have a target on your back.
Yeah.
Which, okay, fair point.
Right,
but
she's a grown-ass woman. Let her decide. Like,
exactly. Like, I mean, if I woke up one day and had new powers, I don't care who is going to come after me. I'm going to train those powers so that I can kill whoever's coming after me.
At least, instead of just sitting there, like, waiting, hope they don't find out. Like,
please don't hurt me, sir.
Exactly.
But... So we have this, literally this book, the vast majority of it is their relationship developing over time. And really we're just kind of covering the front end of it, and that hatred, and because it's very much a slow burning process for her to really admit to herself that she feels any type of way for him.
I almost forget where they started because of how they
because
end
it's
up.
Slow. It's so slow.
# relationship goals.
I know, it's so sweet. So then, the big blowout happens, right? So she goes back. And she's not even back for like 2 weeks. Tamlin gets called out.
Something happened, yeah.
Tamlin and Lucien get called out to do something on the land, and she literally is begging him, take me with you.
I can help, let me go with you.
Let me do anything.
Right, because hadn't Rhys been training her at that point?
He was training her with mental shields, and he taught her alphabet, and she was reading at that point.
Oh, because
that's the other thing, is he taught her to read.
What kind of man?
And it's the sweetest way, too. Right. Rhysand is the greatest High Lord.
The most beautiful High Lord.
Literally just changes out a word in the same sentence.
Yeah.
And
she learned how to read it, though, didn't she?
The first one, though, that he gives her, he writes it out on a piece of paper, and he says, it says something like, Feyre, you look absolutely delicious today.
Yeah.
And so she has a hard time on the word delicious, and so he finishes it for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, really?
I just love it. I love it. The way Sarah J. Maas built this like, foundation and up is just, their relationship is...
Well, and I mean, just
him as a character in general.
Character.
Right. I've never felt more, like, attached to a character before. Like, there's so many facets to one
person.
Right, and that's just wild to me.
And while it's intriguing that Feyre is the main character in the first 3 of these books,
right,
Rhysand is really the pivotal character that holds everything together.
Yeah.
And I love how that's done. I literally texted my sister that told me about this series whenever I finished this book, probably. And I told her that I had never loved a fictional character more than I love Rhysand. And I don't know that that'll ever change.
Well, and it's not just because he's a guy and we're, like, fangirling.
No, definitely
not. It's just,
not.
like, the depths of his character, honestly. Like, there's just so much. There's so much. Like, I don't even think we would have enough time to go through all of it.
We could probably literally sit here vlogging for 5 hours
on just
Rhysand.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we would definitely probably lose a lot of viewers.
Yeah.
But so the big explosion happens. So recapping, she goes back after the second time that she's been called to the night court, and she's begging Tamlin, "Let me go with you. Let me help. I can be of some assistance. I know how to stay hidden.
I can defend myself.
I can I can do whatever you need me to do." And he tells her no, and then he puts wards over the house to literally trap her inside.
So, and let's be clear, her PTSD from being trapped inside the mountain after being, like, practically tortured and then, like, going through all this shit. And the first thing you think is a big decision that you need to do is locking her up. How moronic could you be? How moronic?
So,
my God. I get so mad.
Not to mention that this is not the first display of, like, controller toxicity.
Since she's been
after Rhysand pulls her away from the wedding and she goes back and she looks in the study, he's literally trashed the study. Like, he has serious anger problems.
Yeah, control issues. Oh my God.
She comes back after the second time and she tries to express to him that she feels like she's drowning and that he's the one holding her head underwater.
Yeah.
And he flips out and trashes everything again. So...
And then they try to blame Rice for, like, putting shit in her head or something like that in it.
That's later on. Oh. But yeah. So...
Instead of just taking responsibility for his own actions.
Right. Literally the definition of toxicity.
What a narcissist.
So she starts panicking because she's locked in this house.
Hyperventilate.
And, yeah, she starts hyperventilating, and then all of these powers that she has
she's been having to stuff down because of Tamlin.
Start rising out. So she literally locks herself in this whirlwind of darkness, fire, and ice.
Mm-hmm.
She melts off her engagement ring.
Gone.
It literally just melts, and the emerald stone falls to the ground.
Yeah. And what's the lady's name?
Alice.
Alice is, like, lets her, like...
Everybody's freaking out, and she's screaming. And so the next thing that she knows is that Rhysand's cousin Moore shows up.
One of my other favorites.
She's
such a bad bee.
Picks her up and walks her, and has to walk her into, like, cross into another...
Feyre shatter his wards with her panic,
no,
or was it...
Rhysand did.
Oh, yeah.
So she walks her to another court, and then Rhysand is there, and they keep telling her, you're safe, not you're okay, but you're free. And then...
She was literally like a prisoner.
And then Rhysand takes her to the night court and explains that, you know, he was able to shatter the wards, that was not a big deal for him. And she's asking him, like, how did you know, like, what happened? He said, I could hear you screaming.
Right.
And so they're having this conversation, and again, they're above the hewn city. And he says, you know, you can, because this is outside of our bargain, you don't have any kind of obligation to go back to the Spring Court. You can stay here as long as you want. I'll take you back whenever you want to go.
Right.
And she says, I don't know that I want to go back. And he said, well, that's okay. And he says, all right, well, like, why don't you take a few days, rest? I have business elsewhere. I'll be back by the end of the week. And she literally starts panicking again, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get left here with my thoughts. And I don't really want to think about Tamlin. I don't want to deal with any of that. And so she's willing to beg. And she says, take me with you. And he kind of like slow turns and he's like, listen, you can come. But once you see where we're going, you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no going back after that.
Yeah.
And she says, okay. And
take me, High Lord.
Off to Velaris they go. And again, that's another just like pivotal moment in their their line and their relationship.
The first time she's asked to be taken with somebody by a High Lord, and they're like, okay.
Yeah. And he's just like...
let her choose.
Sure.
She's prepared to get hand and knee and beg. And he's like, all right, but you gotta promise to keep it secret. Like,
yeah.
She's like, well, shit, I can do that. Like,
she's like, no problem.
Take me. Yeah.
And so they go into Velaris, and through, they're there for a little bit. She sleeps, and then they go to dinner that night up in the House of Wind. And she gets to meet his inner circle.
The circle. I want to be part of the circle.
I want to be their friends.
God.
I feel like we could add a lot of dynamic to that group.
I think so. I think for sure.
So,
although I think me and Cassian have a lot in common, so like there would be a lot of shit talking, but I feel like it'd still be a good time.
Well, and then later that gets real complicated when Nesta comes into the picture.
You're right. I don't want to be part of that. Not until her shit's settled. I'll come in after. Coming after
like, all that.
Yeah.
So
I love Azriel. Oh my god.
So she had already met Mor, and Mor is Rhysand's cousin. She's the only living relative that he has left. Mm-hmm. And she's his third in command, which when Feyre finds this out, she's like, that's a little weird. you have a female in charge below you.
Right.
And then come to find out he actually has another female as his second, which is Amren.
Which is another bad bee.
And we know
she's ancient.
Yes, we know that they call her an ancient one.
Yeah, she's scary. But like, I'd still be BFFs with her.
Right. I like Amren.
Right.
And then you meet Cassian and Azriel.
The Illyrian soldiers.
The Illyrian warriors. And they're literally Rhysand's brothers. They, they're not...
Biffles.
They're not blood related, but they might as well have been.
Right.
Oh my god, they're me and you.
Oh my god. All we need is like a third.
We need one of the... Sarah.
Bet.
Sarah.
Just sketch her in right The whole circle is friend goals for me, which I feel like we've got a pretty good circle.
We do. We do.
We just don't go off to war or battle each other.
And we don't have wings.
Or powers. Well, we do have powers, but those are secret.
Secret powers.
We also don't have a House of Wind.
Well, we don't have...
I don't know, my house is pretty tall.
We don't have multiple houses.
Or multiple lands.
Which is a failure on our part.
Right, we've messed this up.
Somehow we have... I digress. So we meet his friend group, his inner circle, and after the dinner, and she hears some of their stories and how they met...
And how they talk to each other.
Yes.
She was stunned.
She literally thought that it was going to be so formal and
like
thought that
in
it was
Tamlin's.
Like, yeah, and like
because
he
barks at Lucian all the time, like, know your place.
Right.
They're like talking back and forth.
They talk mad crap to him, and
I love it.
She's kind of like, what?
She's like prepping for like a fight in the middle of the dinner table, and then they're just like laughing and ha-ha.
That's the other thing. So they're not servants, and I can't remember their names, but the twins that help her like get clothes and help tend to her room.
When she's under the mountain, they like drift through the walls and stuff.
Yeah,
they're like spies.
But in the night court, she asked them a question about Rhysand and how he kept Velaris a secret from Amarantha. And they just tell her, that's not really our story to tell. And she said, he told you to say that, didn't he? And they say, no, but we don't want to get anything
right.
wrong.
Like, everyone just respects him so much, and there's, like, a lot of details to it.
Except
also,
for the
like,
people in the Hewn City.
Right, because they're
stupid. Yeah. But they kind of govern themselves.
But they're afraid of him, and that's all that matters.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
He does let fear rule there.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of his character, is just, like, all the different masks
there's just
that
so
he
many
wears.
depths, yeah. Which is funny, because the Spring Court's the one who wore masks.
Yeah. But they're pretty straightforward, and Rhysand doesn't have a mask, and literally it becomes several different people
he
who
literally,
people
like,
needs
shifts,
to be.
Right. When they go to the Hewn City, she has to wear that outfit, and they're, like, having the throne moment, and I'm like, oh, girl, what's wrong? Like,
yes. It's very sexy.
And he, like, breaks down Moore's dad, because Moore's dad is a piece of crap.
Yeah.
I hate him.
I hate him. Hate him.
I love Moore, though.
I do love
She's
her.
a baddie.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much all we had for today. Yeah, we'll definitely go more in depth with the characters.
There's so much detail, and it's so important to the development of the entire series, and the development of her as a character. Each relationship she has with
each one.
Right. And I mean, it's definitely too much to cover in one episode, because
for sure. That's why we focused on her and Rhysand.
Right.
Today.
It's funny that Feyre's the main character. I agree with what you said, like, about Rhysand, but, like, about them too, because they each have so much to their own story that help develop her story. I don't know. I've never seen so many main characters in one book.
Right. Well, and I mean, and we get further into that whenever we have Silver Flame, because that whole book is about Cassian and Nesta.
Oh my god.
Which is so good.
Makes me think of, never mind. We'll get to it later.
So with that being said, definitely go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Like, share, follow, comment, all of those good things.
Email us if you want to argue.
Yes.
If we're wrong about something, if you have an opinion you want shared, we will definitely bring it up and talk about it.
For sure.
So,
in the meantime, so we'll have another episode next Friday. Same time, same place, same series.
Same faces.
Same faces. But also, we wanted to announce that on February 24th, we are joining a writing competition called the Writers Playground Short Story Competition. And what it is it gives us 10 days and certain criteria that gets released on that day that we get to pick from. And we get to create a short story and submit it and hopefully maybe win.
Yeah.
Writing is something that we kind of do in our spare time.
That's what started this, actually.
It is. Yeah. It's kind of what led to this. So we're entering this competition, and we want you guys to be a part of it. So we are going to record as we are doing our whatever you want to call it.
Prepping, thought process, work, as we're working. Because
we get a little
looks a lot like everything we do in our episodes. The only difference is it's not about somebody else's book, and we have to create an entire story of our own.
And again, we want you to be a part of that. So come join us starting on February 24th, and we might do that live.
Okay.
We might do that live.
I'm totally cool with that. There's no telling what's going to be said, so prep yourselves.
So join us for that so that you can maybe even help us. Ooh. How would you like some of your ideas to be featured in our story?
We'll tag you.
We will. And we'll share it with you whenever it's done.
Shoot, if we win, we might even take you to dinner.
We might do a little something for you.
Something. Yeah.
So join us for that, because that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Other than that, thank you for joining Beyond the Books with Dani Marie.
Bye.